Hi, and welcome back to episode 11 of Pilates Flows at Atlantis, a series where I will demonstrate and give you the tools to do the sequences I post on Instagram. Now let's get started. So in today's episode, we'll be doing a series of 3 leg exercises utilizing a free weight. Now, I highly recommend using a weight between about 5 and 10 pounds. You could go heavier if you'd like, or you could opt out of using a free weight at all for these exercises. Now, let's get the reformer set up. Start by grabbing your weight, then get onto the reformer to get set up for our lunge. We'll have one foot on the carriage, the opposite foot back onto the deck. To perform the move, carefully press the carriage out, bend your front knee at 90 degrees as you do so. Once you've gone all the way out, pass the weight underneath your thigh before pressing down through your front foot and carriaging back in, straightening both legs. Remember to keep your chest lifted and the abdominals tight as you pass the weight underneath your thigh. For our second move, we'll face sideways on the reformer with your big toe hanging off the carriage. Reach the weight up to the ceiling, keeping it directly over your shoulder the entire time. Now hinge at your hips and reach down towards your foot with your opposite hand. I like to look up to the weight the entire time to make sure it's tracking over my top shoulder. Then squeeze the abdominals in to stand back up. For horse stance, start sideways on the reformer with your hips as low as your knees and your knees stacked directly over your ankles. Raise the weight out in front of you to about chest height. To perform the move, carefully press either the carriage or the deck away from you, keeping the opposite knee and the hips completely stable before bending the knee back in and stacking it over the ankle. Alright, and that'll be it for today's episode. Now remember, for that first lunge variation, we got onto the reformer with one foot on the carriage, our opposite foot back onto the deck. To perform the move, we carefully press that carriage out into as deep a lunge as we could. We pass that weight underneath our front thigh, either going from outside to in, as I did, or you could pass it from inside to out. It's really whatever feels most comfortable for you. Then we straightened out our front leg and brought that carriage all the way back in. Then for your second move, our dumbbell windmill, we stood sideways on the reformer with one foot on the deck, the opposite foot on the carriage. We had the weight in our deck side hand. To perform the move, we press that carriage out to about shoulder width distance. We reach that weight straight up to the ceiling directly over our shoulder. Look up to your top hand the entire time through the move. So as you look up, you're going to slowly lean over, reach towards your toes with your bottom hand. It's okay if you don't hit your toe every time. Hit near your ankle or wherever you could. The most important thing is to keep that weight directly over your shoulder throughout the entire motion. So again, I like to look up the entire time, keeping that weight tracking directly over my shoulder as I lean down and then come back up. Then for our third move, we did our horse stance. So again, we were facing sideways on the reformer. We pushed that carriage out and we dropped our hips coming into as deep a squat as we could. Now ultimately in horse stance, you want your hips as low as your knees and your knees to roughly track over your ankles. We held that weight directly out. Now this is where you could modify with either no weight or another modification is to hold that weight at your chest. From here, we press that carriage out using our deck leg. Then we bent that knee back in, bringing the knee back over the ankle before we press the carriage out with our carriage foot, doing the same thing. So we're keeping the hips still. We're just moving one leg at a time and always bringing that ankle back under the knee before we move to the opposite side. Now, if you learned something or if you enjoyed the video, please leave me a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you next time.